Hello everyone and welcome to the Jimmy Johnson episode. Yes, it's number 48, at least for me as the host of Inside the Majors. And today we are past the halfway mark of our Sudspeed Champions Series for Season 2. And our third division winners interview comes to you today from the GT3 Pro-AM division. Now before we get there, I'm going to have a look back at the Sim Science Road America 2-hour 40-minute events from last month and recap how those went down in all the regions. It was also the final round of the Grand Touring Mini Championships for the Major Series in 2026, a new initiative that we are trialling. And so we congratulate our first mini winners. Does that make them minions? Anyway, maybe that should be the trophies rather than Mario's. Anyway, we'll celebrate the first champions of the season with much fanfare as they deserve. A quick reminder, if you haven't and you are listening to this before the end of August, registration for MEC Season 3 is closing pretty soon, so get onto those entries ASAP, please. Okay, a review of Road America right after this.
G'day everyone, Richard here, co-founder of Sudspeed. Chris and I started this business to create the best sim racing glove, one that's lightweight, breathable and super grippy. We have a range of clean motorsport-inspired designs and most importantly, they're great value, shipped right to your door almost anywhere in the world. We love the guys at Majors and we're proud supporters of the MEC. When you buy your gloves at sudspeed.com, make sure you use the discount code MAJORS at checkout for 10% off. See you on track.
Round 7 of this year's Major Series at Road America was a 2-class mini enduro rather than 3 classes, as was the case at Watkins Glen, no LMP2 this time around, that I think saw some of the best racing in the Majors so far in 2026. The track is long but challenging at the same time and in my opinion works great for multi-class. There's plenty of space for passing around most of the track, but also some areas where the urgency to get by, if you're in a faster class, kicks in, and so the jeopardy is always present and races can turn in the blink of an eye. Add in potential safety car periods, some fuel save requirements, and a really long pit lane, and strategy also plays a part. And so it really did promise to turn it on, and it did. As usual, we'll start with the international race, which I have to admit I did not get to see live because, well, I was a zombie and passed out on the floor after the MEC race from the night before. And in GTP class, Thomas Hinz took win number 17 of his Majors career, now equal third all time. I really think we need to get him on the podcast soon, ahead of Cam Dance and Matthew Pluck. Special mention to Ewan Baker, who led all but 8 laps of the race, but late dramas meant the win escaped his grasp. In GT3, Dylan Jordan backed up his win from Watkins Glen to take another victory, ahead of long-time Majors competitors Dan Stevens and Robert Northway, who are never easy to beat, so well done, Jordan. Quick mention too to Stu Elder and Brad Wiggins as the lead Sports Silver drivers home in each of those respective classes. Up next was the European region, and in a return to the series, 2024 champion Jesper Eriksson reminded everybody of just how good he is in high downforce cars, leading all but 9 laps to take a pretty comfortable win. In second, title contender and fellow Swede, Hafley, and also making a comeback to this race was Oscar Fredriksson, Jesper's teammate and title rival from the 2024 European season, and so it was an all-Swedish podium. In GT3, championship leader Austin O'Neill was clear at the front for most of the race, though to be fair, not by a massive margin, with Daniel Thomas and James Walker, another returnee to the Major Series, in close pursuit and joining him on the podium. That meant that this race was a great scoring round for all of the serious title contenders. Well done to Joshua Hampton as the lead Sports Silver driver in the GT3 class as well. There weren't any silver drivers in the GTPs. And so to Americas. In GTP, Nathan Dowd led for the majority and pulled off a great strategic race as well when the safety car came out and meant you could either run hard and have to stop again for fuel before the end or save fuel and make it without a splash. I was one of the drivers who chose the former and got to feel like a hero leading for 18 laps, but in reality, that was the strategy that was never going to come out on top. And so it was that Nathan won with Ross Banfield second and Robert Nash in third. Well done to Shane Vickery as the top Sports Silver driver in GTP. And in GT3, it was an absolute nail-biter throughout, with Austin O'Neill backing up his Euro win just hours earlier to get another victory, but this time by less than 0.2 of a second from Blake Reynolds, another series returnee and former series champion, the last driver to beat Christian Chandler in a championship fight, in fact. It seems to be a trend in this race for former series champions to come back. The pair swapped positions, I think it was 4 times in the last 2 laps, and there was no way of telling who was going to take the flag until they crested the hill, and even then it was hard to know. But Austin locked in his 5th win of the year for the Americas region, so well done to you. And rounding out the podium was last year's European Series champion, Trevor Vavrovsky. Well done to Cavan Heaton as the lead sports driver in GT3. And so with that, as I mentioned in the intro, our first mini-series champions for Grand Touring were crowned. In International, Cameron Dance held out Thomas Hinds by just 5 points to take the win. So well done, Cam. Again, a former series champion. In the European region, we've got a tie. Austin O'Neill and Daniel Thomas were level on 675 points, and I don't think there's a tiebreaker for these things, so joint winners it is, so well done to you both. And in Americas, Austin again sits atop the Grand Touring standings, though alone this time well clear of the rest of the field, so maybe he doesn't need to share that Euro title after all. Okay, so that almost brings us up to date with what's gone down in the major series. Next episode, we will get caught up with the review of the Brickyard 400, which saw a pretty rare event actually for majors in the European race, so I look forward to sharing that with you next time out. Okay, now it's time for Oodles of Poodles. What the hell am I talking about? Well, it will all make sense pretty soon as we talk to our MEC GT3 Pro-AM winners next. So we reached the third instalment of the Sudspeed MEC Season 2 Champions Series here on Inside the Majors. And today we have with us the GT3 Pro-Am winning team, though to be honest, I'm not really sure what to call them, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But for now, let's use Dr. Chooch. Austin O'Neill, Bryce Roberts and David Schmidt are joining us to tell us about their experience this season. So gentlemen, thanks for joining us for a chat today and welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us.
So the last two interviews with the Season 2 champions, I've started off discussing the final race first. So let's change it up a bit today. Let's go back to round one at Daytona. It was wet, it was wild, and ultimately a perfect start for your campaign. Can you take us through how that first event went from your perspective?
Yeah, it was, first off, besides just the race in itself or the result, we are proud to say that we have survived Hurricane Darren. That was the first step in starting our season off right, I guess. But no, it was, even before the rain came, I kind of had a different approach to how we were going to kind of run the intern stuff this year. And how we were going to kind of structure our races with the Pro-Am requirements and myself only limited to 49% pretty much race distance. So, like that first race kind of showed that our formula was going to work right. We just got lucky through the rain and kind of how some things fell. But
I'm pretty sure I did all of my laps under caution.
Yeah, you absolutely did, yes. But I guess in some sense of it, like, you look 2 weeks later and the real 24 had how many hours under the safety car for fog? 6+?
Oh,
so we were just being realistic. So I hope that realism box got checked pretty well, Bryce.
I don't care. I had a good time.
So taking a podium overall in the GT3 class in that race must have been a good surprise. There were only a handful of Pro-Am teams who made the top split to begin with. And so to beat most of the elites as well, that must have been pretty satisfying.
Yeah, it was a real kind of like a shot in the arm, I guess, like boost-wise for our confidence going in the rest of the year. I did a lot of driving after the rain came or the safety car period into the rain. And every lap was different and every lap is a challenge pretty much. Yeah, it was rewarding to see that when things are kind of equalized in a way with the rain, that our team strategy-wise and talent-wise was just as good as anybody else and come out of there with a third overall, which was really cool. We never thought, like, the first season of MEC, we didn't sniff second split but once maybe or twice, or we just didn't have the success that we had this year. So, we were on cloud nine pretty much after that. But yeah, it was good to get off on the right foot. And I feel like if we didn't leave Daytona as well as we did, our season could look totally different at this point. Like you look at our drops and our point per race breakdown. We really needed that to get off on the right foot.
How big team finishing in the podium there, Lockington at Sebring. And we probably wouldn't have made the top split in Sebring if it wasn't for that.
Sebring actually turned out to be your lowest scoring round and so then your drop round. But that doesn't always tell the true story for the Pro-Am cars in GT3 because points are only relative to the other Pro-Am teams. But what was it about Sebring that meant that it wasn't really the most successful race for you for the season?
We had a little shakeup in the team and we lost our third guy. And so we went into Sebring and it was just Austin and I. And we just missed on the driver requirements. And I had to go back in the car with about 5 laps to go after Austin had drove the car up to 5th place overall in the GT3s. So it was a bummer, kind of a letdown. We still said we got up to 5th and we could have finished there if we had the requirements met before Austin got in the car. but we just dropped the ball and timing right.
So across the season as a whole, how did you manage the pro-am nature of the division? Was there a set strategy that you used every race, or was it a bit more fluid in time in terms of meeting the drive times, especially after the experience of having a result taken away by getting it wrong?
I think for the most part, we had kind of a general formula we wanted to meet. Sometimes the timing was a little different depending on safety cars and stuff. But it was always me start the car, and then David comes in and runs the mid stint, and then Austin comes in and finishes. That was just how we planned each race.
Yeah, I actually was not on the team for the first 2 rounds. I was actually a competitor for the first round. I was in the LMP2 division, and my team actually folded after that race. And after the race at Sebring, they're like, we need a third guy, and they brought me on the team, and that was just cool the way it worked out.
The third race was the split round, where the pro-am divisions competed without the elites at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Obviously, that race went really well. I'll let you guys explain how that race ran for you guys. I'd really like to hear that you run us through just how exciting that last lap, last corner in the rain and with traffic was for you.
Yeah, so like we left Sebring and we were pretty we still ran fourth, I think, Bryce, like in class. So it was still good, but we felt robbed. And I was so fortunate to cross paths with David. I think it was right after Daytona is when you and I met and started kind of running together on other things. And yeah, when we got out of Sebring and needed to get our act together, he was the first one I thought of. And he couldn't have made a better entrance with us at Mosport, but it was like we knew that we would be really good, but we didn't really know how stuff would work just against the whole GT3 Pro-AM field. But the race was really good for us. David carried us really well through the middle part of that race and kept us out of a lot of carnage that really caught a lot of other people off. And the rain fell at the right time. When we got past halfway, David's stint requirements were done per iRacing. And I love racing in the rain, so I was chomping at the bit to get in and go. And I don't remember where we came out of the pits when the rain started. It was close to the top 5 or so, I want to say. And I just feel like other teams had kind of got the timing wrong on their rain specialists being in, and we were able to get through traffic well. And I made the last lap more exciting than I wanted to. We had traffic that and I get it, like hindsight's like 2020 in this situation. Like I get everybody is racing for their own race and their own positions, but the 2 lap cars ahead of us, they were like 20th and then 15th, 2 laps apart. And they could have just let us go, but they chose to make it interesting on us. And I could have maybe done a couple things differently to avoid them, but it was like the last couple of corners at Mosport. The rain line was really narrow with the rubber, and I had a gap about a half a car's width wide, and I had to go for it because I had Valhalla tucked up behind me, and they moved to the last second, and I unfortunately wiped out 2 of the lap cars and somehow didn't wipe myself out and got it back to the line ahead of Valhalla. But it could have easily taken us out of the race and finished, I think, probably 5th or worse, and that would have totally destroyed like our 1 drop at Sebring or how the rest of the points worked out leading into the final couple of races.
And having David come in for this 3rd race, it was just incredible. We got to have a 3rd driver with skill and patience and kind of understood the assignment, because the race isn't over until a checkered flag. And so there's no reason to be tearing up the car halfway through the race. And David just takes care of that car like crazy.
Yeah. I don't remember where we were running, David, but I don't think I could have been as relaxed as you were, like through traffic, your 2 stints of that race. Just having that mindset of preservation and just seeing the bigger picture is, I think, honestly, what set our entire team apart from most. And I'm so lucky that you had that trait when we brought you on.
Oh, big time. That's huge. I just vividly remember him patiently sitting behind slower cars and just buying his time. And it would take 3, 4, 5 laps sometimes, but he would do it so methodically and cautiously that it just come home. It helps us win at the end.
It was really cool how just coming in was able to gel right away with the boys and just knowing the role of, starting with Bryce, keep the car clean, save as many X's as he could, hand it over to me, try and keep it mid-packs best I can, save the X's, hand it over to Liston. He brings it to the top. We finish towards the front. That was the goal mindset going into most of the races once I joined the team, and just being able to it was like an unspoken thing. They didn't say, "Hey, we need you to do this, David. Hey, we need you to do that." It just boom, it just worked out. It's pretty cool.
So solid points results followed in rounds 4 and 5. And after the drop kicked in, going into the last round, yourselves and Valhalla were equal on points and equal on tiebreakers, essentially. So it was first past the post in that last race was going to take the title. There was a nice banter and smack talk in a good way before the finale between the two of you. Tell us a little bit about the relationship between the two teams, given that you were the standouts in the Pro-Am class this season.
I can't remember who initiated what, and I can't remember what all was said, but it was always in friendly gesture, a little humor involved, and we poked fun at each other. It just was a lot of fun. Those guys were a ton of fun to race with. And if we were going to battle with anybody, that was the team we wanted to battle with all year.
This championship could have won two different ways. It could have been fun and entertaining, and if we won it or if they won it, we would have been equally as happy either way. Or it could have been the complete opposite, where we were at each other's throats, and it was just not fun and stressful. Hats off to them for taking the fun side with it and playing along with our nonsense.
They were an absolutely talented bunch of guys too. And so the races always were pretty close. And so we were watching each other from the green flag, keeping an eye on each other. And it always seemed like at the end of the race, Gage and Austin would be nose to tail somewhere.
So during the race at Road America, was that the pure focus was all on one car, just be ahead of Valhalla? Was that the only thing that mattered?
Pretty much 100%.
I think the way that it worked out points-wise was, I want to say there was probably 4 teams or 4 Pro-Am teams that ended up making top split. 3 of them, Valhalla, ourselves, and I want to say it was North Sim Racing Green. All 3 mathematically had a shot at that championship, depending on what happened in the first 6 hours of that race, pretty much. And we knew that we had at least see the race until halfway, and once we got there, North Sim Racing Green was mathematically eliminated from the battle, and it was the last 6 hours. Want to keep the car clean and focus all of our undivided attention on Valhalla and what we had to do to outrun them to the end.
And so to get it finally done and secured, was it relief, joy, not much feeling at all because you're purely exhausted after 12 hours of worrying about it? What was the emotions when you crossed the line?
I was sad, actually. I really wish we had a chance to actually battle it out, and for them to have gotten collected in that LMP2 wreck there, when the last safety car we had, was really unfortunate.
Oh, for sure. I would have liked to see the battle play out. I don't know if Austin wanted it as much as we did, but we wanted to see that happen.
I can't say that I wasn't happy for us to get it and have a stress-free 3 hours, but I do side with David on it, and even Bryce too. I think it was about 3 hours to go when the safety car came out, and Gage and I cycled back on the same pit strategy pretty much, and we lined up nose to tail, and it was going to be who could get through traffic the best. Because our pace together in clean air was almost identical. It was going to be an all-out war for 3 hours that I was up for, and I was going to do everything I had to throw at them to try and win it outright and fair. But I guess the racing gods had different plans for us. But I really would have felt like it would have been a really good show for the entire top split to see us going back and forth at it. But yeah, this season was nothing short of excitement every round, I can say.
But looking at the MEC as a whole, how did you come to be a team in the MEC? What made you decide to enter? And what are some of the aspects of the series that you enjoy the most?
Me and Austin have been iRacing together for quite a while, but we started racing the majors, I don't know, was it 2016, 2017? It's quite a ways
around there.
And then we took our hiatus because I didn't have internet and Austin didn't have me to race with. And then we came back when I got the internet and we started in the majors again. And then all of a sudden this MEC league started. I was like, hey, let's do that too. And Austin's dumb enough to let me race with him, but it seems to work out.
My first race was the blackout race at Nürburgring GP for the 12-hour. And it was just a blast being able to see actually race control done, and it's done correctly. There's protests and penalties. There's actual consequences for your actions, whereas you go into a special event, you prepare weeks in advance for it, someone takes you out, all that time prep is gone. Whereas this, there's a little bit of a... People are more hesitant to pull those types of moves because they know there's consequences to their own race if you ruin someone else's race or pull a questionable move. So
definitely all those factors. Those really make the leagues, majors and MEC, both very enjoyable.
Now, I've got to ask about team names. You changed your name for every round except round 3, but did manage to keep the same team ID for the whole season as per the rules. So thank you for making that aspect of my life easy. But you went from Fusion No Talent 17 in round 1 to Fusion Dr. Chooch, then Fusion Dr. Chooch and the Poodle, Advanced Poodle Walking presented by Dr. Chooch, and then finally Dr. Chooch's Department of Trophy Collection and Extreme Poodle Walking. What the hell are you guys smoking, and what are all of these names about?
Yeah, with the previous 3-man team we had, when things didn't work out and me and Austin decided to continue, we kind of have an inside joke because the first season, I don't know if you realize it or not, but there's 3 rules in the rule book that were wrote because of us and our shenanigans. So we thought, let's see if we can get Garen to write a new rule about sticking with the same team name all year. So we decided we're going to change our team name every round just to see if it irritated you in any way, shape, or form. Apparently it didn't, so I guess we got to just keep doing it anyway.
Like I said, you managed to keep the same team ID, so it works for me.
I will say it's been so much fun leading up to each of these races, trying to come up with our team name and our livery design. The bar is set extremely high for us into season 3. I don't know how we're going to top that, but it shall be very entertaining.
Yeah, speaking of the liveries, I don't know how many people really caught them, but we'd always take, after it was at Sebring. So after Sebring, the last 4 rounds, we took a real company and like a real paint job, and we just inserted the name Chooch somewhere in it. It's like we did Choocher Tires. It's like a spinoff of Hoosier Tires. We did Aunt Chooch Mima Maple Syrup. We did Chooch Mac and Cheese, Chooch and Cheese. What was the last one we did? Oh, Chooch Royal. How could I forget that? We did Chooch Royal, Crown Royal livery. So maybe next year people will check us out a little bit more.
Yeah, and each paint scheme or name that we had in our conversations with Valhalla mid-race, they would always make some kind of a comment regarding it, and we're like, oh, don't worry about it. Just wait till the Dr. Chooch comes in the car. He'll fill your prescriptions for you. And it worked that friendly banter.
Yeah, I believe it was Watkins Glen, and we had the Aunt Chooch Mima's maple syrup, and they had a new driver in, and I think they made contact with David when he was in the car, and we took away their pancake and syrup privileges for after the race. And I'm glad they played along and had fun with it. But I feel like we can't leave them hanging, and we have to explain like where the name Dr. Chooch comes from and where Poodle originated from, and nobody's better to do that than Poodle himself.
Okay, gosh, this was a couple years ago. Sebastian Jackson was he still is on our team, but we were all sportsmen at the time, and we were going to practice for a race, and he'd requested that if we do a session, he wanted to be a part of it. So I messaged him, let him know the details. I probably gave him a day or 2 in advance. And he messaged me 6 months later, "You are a poodle." And then we all just lost it. We thought that was hilarious. And then Austin just kept calling me a poodle. So the poodle's just stuck around, and the poodle has evolved to this character almost. We're going to keep poodling on, I guess.
And Austin, you were going to tell us about the Chooch?
So Dr. Chooch came about, it was started this year. I think it was right around Daytona's, the first race for MEC at Daytona, first race at Major Series. A couple of our buddies, Derek, one of our Majors teammates, we run the Sprint Car Cup. It's in Louisville Series a couple nights a week for their SOF races. So I don't remember where we were at. I think I was rolling through the field at some point, and why I said this, I don't know. Glad I did, but I just randomly said, I'm chooching. And I think Derek said, I love that word, chooch. And it's been here ever since, and that's evolved into the Chooch branded knockoffs and memes. It all started with some random word that I said in the middle of a race, and it's turned into this nonsense.
Now, regular listeners would be all too familiar with your current success in the Major Series, Austin. But for all of you, outside of the Majors world, what else do you get up to, both in sim racing and, if any of you are lucky enough, in real world racing?
Well, unfortunately, I had to retire about 2012 because real racing costs a lot of money. And so I decided eating hams and beans and ramen noodles every day really kind of sucked. And I probably should pay my mortgage. So I sold the race car.
For me, I started out with, I had a Honda S2000. I was working at a dealer, and I was like, I want this car. And they're like, you can't own this car without taking it to the track. So took it to a couple of open track days here at our local road course in town. A nice little 2.5 mile road course. I used the drag strip as the long front stretch, and really got my juices flowing. That's when I really kind of started getting into sim racing, because then I had a daughter. It has no back seat in that car, so I sadly had to get rid of it and channel my efforts more into sim racing. Now I actually just got another car, a WRX, that I'm getting ready to bring to the track here next month for one of our track days. I had a Mini Cooper last year. I had it all set up ready to go. School R53, the first generation supercharged, and had to pull the engine a couple times out of it for a lot of repairs. And I was like, no, this isn't it. And then I kind of had to retire it instead.
So I grown up in a racing family, and I was a third generation racer, and started off in karts and then transitioned through that into like micro sprints, which we just got on iRacing. So that was pretty cool to have another car that I had plenty of IRL seat time in, and did that for a couple of years, and then transitioned to 360 sprint cars and ran that for I think the last 5 years of my career until it was post COVID. The racing industry as a whole, it got really expensive, and I just had a season of just horrible luck, tore a lot of stuff up, ultimately just got burnt out of just having no money to go race. And when we went and raced, we spent more money that we didn't have and just had to hang it up early.
I like how you completely skip over your street stock after how good you did in that thing.
Okay, I've had plenty of concussions between there. There's a couple of years that I don't remember. Yes, there was. So between the micro sprint and the sprint car, there was a couple of years that we raced locally with a street stock or a hobby stock, and we did pretty good with that. Won a couple of races locally and then traveled with it. But it's about all I've really raced. I've always wanted to race pavement stuff or road course and never had the opportunity to do it. We don't have a lot here in Missouri. But I've pretty much, as long as I've been or was racing IRL, I had some sort of sim at the house. Probably, I want to say 15 years ago now. My grandpa bought me my first sim setup. I'm going to drop a name out here, and I would be very interested to see how many people actually know of this company. You have to be an OG sim racer to know this. And they were pretty much the pioneers of wheels and pedals, but Thomas Super Wheel was the first wheel and pedal set that I had built in Iowa. My grandpa raced NASCAR racing 03. That was his big deal. I got into it when I was, I don't know, 8 or something. I was just a dumb kid on there just playing a video game and messed around with that until 2016 or so when I got iRacing. I met Bryce, and I've been here for pretty much 10 years on iRacing and never looked back. And the sim racing got pretty serious for me post my racing career. A lot cheaper to go do this, and I don't have to go travel for it. So I could just wake up and run to the next room and go around, and it's just being able to do it with my friends. Yes, I miss the actual racing part of it and seeing my real racing friends still go and do it, but the amount of fun that I have with my sim friends will always top what I was able to do with real racing. This year has been a breakout year for me with the sim racing stuff. It all started back in December, I want to believe. So last year, I was a qualifier for the World of Outlaws Pro Sprint Car Series when they were handing out the pro licenses. I had a lock-in spot to the final feature at Knoxville until Alex Bergeron, the GOAT of dirt racing, drove by me. So that was a heartbreak. I believe the next event that I got into after the season started for majors and MEC was I was a qualifier for a race with Oscar Piastri at Miami with HB Tuners. I think I was third on the time attack boards to get locked into that behind Sean Campbell, which I thought was cool. I would never see my name stacked up against him. So that was cool to look at and be a part of. And I got to run around with Oscar a little bit, but it was a chaotic event. After that, I ended up participating with the Skip Barber iRacing Pro Series. The first 3 rounds were horrible for me. I didn't even sniff making the top 20 cutoff, and the last 3 rounds were at tracks that I knew and going to be favorable for my best shot at making it in. And I made Sonoma. I think I ran 11th or 12th and had an okay race. The next round we did was Richmond, their first ever oval event. Ended up picking up the hard charger in that, which if you get the hard charger award for any Skip Barber event, you get a paid day at the Skip Barber Racing School. I got a trip to Skip Barber School here in the next, I think, probably a year or so. I got to plan out. That was really cool to be a part of and get. And then I made the final race at Coda and just got caught up in somebody else's mess. But I think that's pretty much all the stuff I have going on outside of majors and MEC. the next thing I have my eyes set on. It's probably 6 months out from now, but I would love to make a run at Coke, NASCAR one day. So that's outside of the majors races and MEC. That's where all my time and focus has been going into right now. We'll see how that goes here in the next year or so.
Just putting them on notice. 'Cause Austin's full
Yeah.
of talent.
Yeah, I think the sim world is going to know who Austin O'Neill is if they don't already pretty soon into the near future. Look, finally, guys, will we see whatever the heck you're going to call yourselves back for season 3 of the MEC starting next month?
Yes, sir. Going LMP2, so let everybody know we're coming for that title, LMP2. It is almost comical when we load into these sessions and I have like everybody is 3K or above, and here I am with 1400 I rating or something.
Well, I want to say that, yes, I think you were probably the lowest I-rated driver in the top split serve every round. But like, I got to give it to you too. It's all of us did a great job as a team to put this together. But for you specifically, a lot of people might see, I think what poor Bryce, one race only ran 11 laps at Watkins Glen, but it satisfied the requirements and so on. But like your commitment and like progression and like how well you've done throughout this year and where you've gone, like even though they might not see you running the same times as David or I, but like you've still had a great progression throughout the year with your limited seat time in the car and like with what you're doing. I think for all of us, it was a great building year for us as a whole. And I just wanted to give you a shout out.
I appreciate that.
I guess.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It was certainly a team that filled the Pro-Am spirit exactly as we hope in the MEC. That's why we have the division there. For teams like this and for drivers that can't compete necessarily on their own with the elites, to still give them a championship to fight for. Yeah, you said about giving Bryce a shout out there, Austin. Before we go, is there anyone else you'd like to give a shout out to or a thanks?
I'll let you two start and then I'll finish off I got a few people I want to thank.
Yeah, before we even get to any of our team stuff, yourself, all your stewards, Mike, both series, thank you guys for putting this together. You guys had a couple curveballs thrown at you this year with various things, and I felt like everything was handled to its best ability and the most professionally done as possible. And it's a lot of time that you guys took out to do this. Thank you guys for doing this. I thank all of our competitors that we ran with, Fall Hall especially. We had a great time with them. Hopefully we get to have some more runs with them next year and so on. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Wilson hit it pretty well. Thanks for Garen and your team of the organizers, and also thanks for the race control for the countless amount of hours that they spent helping out and taking the brunt of the teams not happy with the decisions they made, but they did it to the best of their ability to be as fair as possible without any bias. I appreciate all the broadcasts that we had, trying to cover all the various races from the 2 hour up to the 24 hours. It was really cool to be able to see that as part of this league. Appreciate Bryce and Wilson bringing me in as a lost dog into the family here and join the Poodle clan. Appreciate also the Majors Garage with being able to put the affiliations on here and being a part of their team here for the sports of learning and getting prepped for the races to work with the guys here. And just appreciate being able to be on here and share our experiences together.
Well, congratulations on the success. We look forward to seeing how you go in season 3. And thanks for giving up some time. Or thanks for giving us some time for a chat here today on Inside the Majors.
Thank you.
Really well.
Appreciate it. I'll let you two start and then I'll finish off I got a few people I want to thank. I got to thank some people too here, Garen. You need to settle down a little bit. I want to thank everybody that they just thanked. I'm not going to repeat all that because they just said it all. I'd also like to thank my wife. I would like to thank Chooch Side Classics. I'd like to thank Chew Trench. I'd like to thank Choocheritaville, Bowling Bob's Bail Bonds, Choochade, Big Chooch's Stump Removal, Bill's Beans, Rusty's Auto Salvage, Poodle Petroleum, Bob's Barbecue Barn, Chooch Brothers Excavating, Dirty Dan's Donuts, Skeeter's Mosquito Control, Chooch Royal, JB Weld Racing, Aunt Chooch Mima, Chooch Mart, Randy's Roofing, Choocher Racing Tires, Larry's Lawn Legends, Chichilo Wild Wings, Poodle Express Logistics, Grandma Patty's Pies, Chooch Creek Construction, Redline Radiators, Chooch County Feed and Seed, Big Rick's Ribs, Chooch's Bail Bonds, Busted Knuckle Garage, Bubba's Bait and Barbecue, Poodle Performance Parts, Big Chooch Racing Engines, Kenny's Country Kitchen, Chooch's Welding and Fabrication, Dave's Discount Tires, Chooch Performance Parts, Possum Palace, Chooch Customs, Chooch's Tree Service, Carl's Corn Dogs, Poodle Pools and Spas, Chooch's Porta-John Rentals, Pete's Pickles, Randy's Ranch Dressing, Chooch's Meat Locker, Hammer Down Garage, Poodle Plumbing, Jimmy's Jerky Junction, Chooch's Gravel Pit, Frank's Fire, Chooch's Car Wash, Bubba's Break and Bake, Chooch Septic Solutions, Cheap Charlie's Used Tires, Chooch and Sons Concrete, Betty's Beauty Barn, Poodle Pressure Washing, Chooch's Smokehouse, Lugnut Larry's, Carl's Carburetors, Poodle Portable Sheds, Chooch's Tire Barn, Bob's Bait Beans and Bail Bonds, Terry's Towing, Chooch's Coin Laundry, Earl's Earth Moving, Poodle Propane, Chooch's Junk Removal, Tommy's Tacos, Chooch's Portable Buildings, Last Chance Motors, Chooch's Towing and Recovery, Patty's Pies, Fancy Poodle Fence Company, Chooch's Tax Service, Don's Dozer Service, Chooch's Used Engine, Chooch's Bait and Tackle, Ringmeister Motorsports, Chooch's Dollar Barn, Mustard Mike's, Randy's Roll-Off Dumpsters, Chooch Speed Shop, Chooch's Diesel Repair, Poodle Paving, Dave's Divorce Attorneys, Chooch's Scrap Metal, Steve's Small Engines, Chooch's Firewood and Mulch, Chad's Cheese Curds, Chooch's Chicken Shack, Poodle Powder Coating, Rick's Radiator Repair, Chooch's Fence Company, Featherford Performance, Gary's Gutters and Guards, Chooch's Ice House, Molasses Chooch and Cheese, Pete's Pig Feed, Chooch's Taxidermy, Kenny's Kettle Corn, Chooch National Bank, Carl's Cornhole Supply, Poodle Pallet Company, Chooch Country Club, Chooch Plumbing, Chooch Air Conditioning, Mike's Mufflers, Broken Axle Auto Parts, Larry's Left-Handed Tools, Terry's Tinfoil Hats, Possum Pete's Petting Zoo, Chad's Chainsaw Sharpening, Discount Duct Tape Depot, Billy Bob's Bingo Hall, Prairie Dog Pest Removal, Squirrel Creek Marina, Full Chooch Fabrications, Chooch Speed Labs, Hammer Down by Chooch, Poodle Pit Crew, Dr. Chooch's Poodle Express, Poodle Premium Dog Grooming, Poodle's Bark and Bite Security, The Broken Beer Bottle Beer Brewery, Carl's Casket Outlet,
Beer brewery.
Kevin's Kettle Corn, Billy's Bologna, Susie's Salsa, Moe's Meat Market, Wanda's Wig Warehouse, Dale's Deer Corn Depot, Frank's Fence Post, and Chooch's Hay and Feed. Without those guys' support, we wouldn't be able to be here.
Tom, who's one of my race control guys, who's in here listening, I had to send him a message just now saying, this was a setup, don't worry, Bryce isn't actually fucking insane.
Thanks for humoring us, Gareth. We're just out here.
I mean, look, no one's going to actually get to the end of that. Everyone's going to turn off, but you guys can sit there and listen to it all and enjoy it.